Coming up right now, no more pennies for your thoughts as President Trump announces plans to stop making new pennies, citing production costs.
Also coming up, listen up, hot dog lovers. Scientists claim eating a hot dog could shorten your life by more than half an hour.
Hot dog. Ugh. A little bit later on, the country with the best food for 2025. It's been named. Can you guess which one it is? We'll let
Daily
you know.
Flash starts right now.
Get ready for trending news and entertainment. This is Daily Flash with your host, Andrea Jackson and Mitch English. The fun starts right now. This is Daily Flash.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andrea Jackson.
And I am still Mitch English. And kids, this is Daily Flash. Anything interesting, James? Sorry, we're doing a little show here. What you got?
I'm looking at some videos.
No, you don't want to see what's on his phone.
For work because I like my job.
Your initials, James' initials is NSFW. All right.
Look, if our text chains ever get out, we in trouble.
That's why they disappear. See, there
You
you
always
go.
make them disappear. The guy that won't is Matt Doolittle. Matty, how you doing over there, Matty?
Guys, I am getting so ramped up. It is WrestleMania season. All the WWE guys are now getting tanned and ripped, and we see them all over town. Getting this season, baby. The wife and I are like diligently watching, making notes.
Hey, you know, you and your wife are all into wrestling, and I find that so. I think it's awesome.
That's kind of how we met.
It's very peculiar. Yeah, that's how they met, is through
It
wrestling.
reminds me of that scene from Groundhog Day when Bill Murray is in the restaurant toward the end of the movie and he
Okay.
gives that couple the tickets to WrestleMania after they get married.
remember that,
I
yes.
always think of Matt.
Matt would love that.
Yeah.
Oh, I would.
right.
Mania tickets
We'll
are
have
so
to start.
expensive.
Yeah, we'll start getting our money together now to help you
Tickets
out.
to WrestleMania. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Have you heard of this thing called Blue Zones?
Blue zones, and I don't think
Your
so.
wife is a nutrition expert, and she must be aware of these. But these are the places around the globe. There are 5 of them that scientists have marked out that represent longevity and lack of dementia. And it's based largely in part to the Mediterranean diet.
Oh, okay. Yes,
Yes.
I've heard of that. Okay.
The 5 zones include Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy,
say that.
Nicoya, Costa Rica, Loma Linda, California, and Icaria, Greece.
All right.
Okay.
I mean, I could totally see how these places are all that way, but
Yeah.
what are they attributing on?
So they're saying, obviously, it's a Mediterranean diet. It's
Yeah.
extremely important. But they're saying there is one place out of those 5 that showed the least amount of dementia. And these people live 10 years longer than the average American with very little to no Alzheimer's or dementia. And it's because they think they include 2 more things in their diet: tea, herbal tea,
Okay, yeah.
and coffee.
And coffee, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
And they say it's a
Wow.
combination of them drinking copious amounts of coffee and tea on a daily basis. They believe is warding off Alzheimer's
I
and
could
dementia.
see that with, we always think bad of coffee most times, caffeine, but if it keeps you busy, you're doing something,
Yeah.
which is, they're saying as far as Alzheimer's, just keeping your brain active.
Going, yes.
Obviously don't rely on stimulants as that.
Right.
But you also talk about places too that probably have very natural foods. Like when I was in Costa Rica, I mean, we caught fish and ate them that
Yes.
day, and there's that mentality.
Yes.
Here we are filled with preservatives and stuff.
That is true. And then you think about the Mediterranean diet and what it offers: lots of fruits, lots of vegetables. Also in this particular town, anytime they have to go to the market, it's a hike up and down a mountain.
There's your
So they're
exercise.
getting movement and exercise on a daily basis.
It's not Lynchburg, Tennessee.
No, believe it or not, even though there's hills there, the fried donuts are
Fried
just
okra
not.
and Jack Daniels.
And the
Okay.
Lynchburg lemonade? Is that
it's
the
not,
lemonade is
apparently it's not good for
different.
you.
Okay.
Very little lemons in the
Lynchburg lemonade.
Lynchburg lemonade. It's interesting too, and you're seeing people that are wanting to, as far as retirement age goes,
Yeah.
move to those places. and
Yes,
that sort
that's
of thing,
true.
especially
And then
Costa Rica.
Loma Linda, California is interesting because it's got a high concentration of Seventh-day Adventists, and they focus on a very strict diet. So
Oh, I didn't realize that.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So that was why Loma Linda, California.
Are they
made
the
the
one?
list.
And I'm not making fun. They go to church on Saturdays, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
They go to church on Saturdays.
Yeah, I thought it was
Sunday, it's the
okay.
Sabbath day.
Yeah, it's a Sabbath. So
Yeah.
they party it up on Sunday, I guess. They watch Sunday Night Live. I don't know what they do, but still,
I like it.
They
It's
live
less,
longer
It's less busy on a Saturday.
and less busy. I
it's
agree.
like getting your errands done during the weekdays.
I can appreciate.
You go
that.
to church on Saturday, you beat the crowd.
You know, there's a saying. You put your 2 cents in, and you get a penny for your thoughts. Somebody's making a penny somewhere, right?
Yes.
Think about that.
Somebody's making more pennies than we could possibly
Apparently,
imagine.
you better start collecting them. Get your water bottles ready, filled up, because the Treasury Department plans to end the production of pennies because it actually costs too much to make a 1-cent coin. Penny is one of the first coins made by the United States Mint after it's established back in 1792. However, it now costs more than 2 cents, sometimes up nearly 3, to produce 1-cent piece. President Trump has instructed his newly elected Secretary of Treasury to stop producing new pennies. Rising production costs have encourage other countries to actually stop making small value coins. Canada stopped making pennies in Australia, back in 2012. Australia stopped circulating the 1 and 2 cent coins back in 1992. Don't worry about there ever being a shortage of pennies because they'll just get back into circulation. If everybody who collects them put them back in there. I know I have a big piggy bank.
Go to any fountain.
And in fountains too,
right? And just scrape the bottom of that
before you spend them. Check them because they could be worth a lot more.
They have an app where you can scan them.
Yeah, you can do
that.
Really?
Because Bert Kreischer was talking about this. He would buy a $10 worth of them and just throw them out at people for luck or something. But he'd scan them before he'd throw them to see if they were worth it anymore. He found one worth 29 cents.
Oh,
29 cents.
Yeah.
There's a wheat penny I know that came out for a while. It's got a wheat thing on the back of it. They're not. I think they're worth $2 or $3, something like
maybe.
that. But it kind of makes sense. Is that you never see anything. You know, we always usually round up or whatever, but everything we buy now is with our cards.
Yeah.
People don't
digital.
Places won't even
true.
accept
Digital
cash
age.
anymore.
Right.
Well, if you're shopping in Europe, oftentimes the price is like $5.95 or $6 or £6 or €6. I mean, it's even.
Yes,
so
right.
you're not dealing with change. But isn't this kind of typical of the government waste that we see?
Yep.
It costs 3 to 4 cents to make 1 penny.
And we continue to do it.
And we continue. It's madness.
And if we're saying if there was anything else that it cost too much for what it actually, or the ROI, if you will, whatever, we would absolutely say forget making it. We need to move forward.
I mean, the girls at Rachel's get really mad.
Rachel's.
when you throw pennies at
That
them.
is
you know?
the.
Well, even
That's really making it rain.
Even people on the side of the road now hold up their Venmo sign. Or they've got a QR code.
I've seen a QR code.
No, you have not.
Yeah, there's a guy up here that's got a QR
Are you
code.
kidding me?
Because you know why? Yeah, because I go, I don't have any change, man. I'm sorry. Well, I got a QR code.
Just Venmo me.
Really, you can do it. I don't want them knowing anything about me, though.
Like, I'd give you my Venmo number. Come on.
I have to tell you this really quick story. Okay, so Eliza, my beautiful wife, she gets all this stuff at conventions and stuff, bags, and instead of giving her money, she always puts like canned foods or whatever in it. All right, well, one that she got, it says it's from a women's care thing. It says take care of your, but uses the V word. And she goes, hey, give this to that. I go, I'm not going to give this bag to this dude. It says take care of your vagina. And but.
Next thing you know, you're living in a monastery.
Exactly.
I do find that they'll do those stories where a ton of clothing gets donated from the U.S. and oftentimes it's a lot of these graphic tees, and you see this villager, off the coast of Laos somewhere wearing like "I'm with stupid" and with an arrow, but he has no idea what it says
Super
on the
Bowl
t-shirt.
t-shirts.
They're wearing Kansas City Chiefs shirts from this year.
No three-peat this
All right, those folks are gathering up their pennies. All they need is 150 of them, I believe, to head to Costco, and you get a Coke and a hot dog, right?
$1.50.
$1.50. So
Drinking
only
a dog.
150 pennies will get you that. However, we have some bad news if you'd like to go there for Costco, at least for the hot dogs. Experts there have revealed that eating a hot dog could actually shorten your life. They've just figured this out, and they also figured out pennies cost 3 cents. Nutritionists say eating a hot dog could shave off 36 minutes of your life.
Oh, good God.
While eating other cured meats could take off 24. And if you like drinking a soda with that, it's going to cost you 12 minutes. It's not all bad news. If you eat certain types of fish, you can add 28 minutes of your longevity. Fresh fruits, vegetables, even PB&Js were found to be a plus. About 75% of the food consumed in the United States considered ultra-processed, which is a great growing health concern, and it goes back to what you said off the top of the show with Mediterranean food and easier food, right?
So if I'm doing my food math correctly, I've pretty much evened out.
You're going to live as long as you do.
I mean, that's it.
I'm definitely in the negative.
You're in the negative?
I'm definitely in the negative, especially this month.
Oh, goodness. Well,
About hot dogs, any food that they can't tell you what's inside of it, whenever if it says, absolutely I'm not going to eat that. No, it says byproduct. They categorize that. That was a great book we had to read in high school called The Jungle, and it's talking about the meat processing thing.
Oh, yeah.
A government allows a certain amount of metals and rats and whatever falls into the pit to actually be ground up in these hot dogs.
What's the negative if you go to a Chinese buffet?
Well, hey,
I'm
it
gonna
is
give
what
you
it
that.
is, man. You just
Well,
Less MSG, maybe? I don't know.
That's
More?
a good question.
they use everything of the cow too, and the pig. It's
and-
called hog head cheese.
Oh.
What is that?
I don't want to.
It's
No.
clear.
Oh.
With crackers.
Stop saying dirty things.
Hot dogs are
Pigs'
the
feet
one
while
thing
you're at it?
I can't do it. Maybe like one that's if I actually, they say you never want to watch sausage being made.
Yeah.
I actually do. That's
Or
the
if you
only
go to the Costco and do the hot dog wrapped in the pizza and then dunk
They'll
it in
do
the
it.
Pepsi. There you go.
All right.
All right, you guys, stay with us. Today's trends, tomorrow's talk. Stay with us. More to come right after this. Hey everybody, welcome back to Daily Flash. I'm Andrea Jackson. When it comes to married couples, finances are at the top of the list when it comes to disagreements. And if you are thinking about saying an I do to someone, you may want to have a convo about the don'ts when it comes to money. Joining us to talk about it is Julia Pugachevsky. She is a senior health reporter for Business Insider. Julia, welcome to Daily Flash.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So what are the advantages, would you say, and disadvantages of couples keeping joint bank accounts versus keeping separate accounts?
So to start with joint accounts, some of the benefits, couples find it sometimes is simpler to just have everything in one place, especially if, say, you're saving for something big like a house. You don't want to look at how much money you have across 5 different accounts. So it's just easier to have it one spot. And some couples also find it, reassuring. You have that full transparency, you know exactly how much each person is contributing. So they find it simpler. Also in the tragic event that one partner dies, ownership just usually automatically goes to the other person in the account versus with separate accounts, you need a named beneficiary. So in that regard, it's simpler as well. With separate accounts, you have a little bit more independence. If you anticipate, for example, getting into arguments over how much each person is spending, you can kind of avoid that a little bit more with having separate accounts. Some people also really enjoy even just being able to surprise each other. You don't have the charge come up on the joint bank account. Yeah, so I actually interviewed a couple and they mentioned that was something that they really liked, that they could still surprise each other with quite lavish gifts that they otherwise wouldn't spend the money on. I will say too, so I wrote a story where I interviewed 4 married couples, and most of them had a combination of a joint and separate account. So I would say couples don't have to, if they're not sure which one feels right, the nice thing is you really don't have to commit to one or the other. You can actually do both. My husband and I also do both. So it's very common to find the middle ground and just do both.
And Julia, you mentioned something important there, transparency, and I think trust goes along with that. How can couples establish financial trust when combining their finances for the first time?
Yeah, I would say communication. I know that's kind of a relationship cliche, but it's so important to be, like you said, transparent and open, and ideally early on, right? You don't want to start having financial conversations right as you're about to move in, right as you're about to get married. Ideally, you start the moment you feel your relationship is serious, that you want to combine your lives together. So having that communication is important. And I would say it shouldn't just be about how much you make or if you have any debt. It should also be about your relationship, your individual relationships to money. What was your family's attitude toward money and how did it shape you? I think it's very common for couples to have differences in that regard.
Sure.
One person could be, a spender, the other could be more of a saver, and their family history could really, influence that part of their personality. So I think understanding that can help you kind of look at each other with empathy and then also bridge those gaps when you inevitably hit those pain points in your relationship.
I think when you end up combining or getting a joint checking account or shared credit cards, the credit score is something that will come up, and you'll find out really what kind of a saver or a spender you might be getting involved with. What strategies can couples use to split expenses when they have different income levels and maybe different credit scores?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it so varies on the couple and how you prefer to split your finances and even where you are in the relationship, I think. So let's say maybe you just moved in or you're about to move in and you have, like a financial disparity in how much you make. You might say, we still want to split everything evenly. That feels fair to us. Or you might say, if one of us makes more money, I do want, a different apartment, and the person who makes more pays a little bit more. You could handle that through Venmo. Couples deal with this in so many different ways. I think, others prefer to, have that joint account, put everything in, and they don't even think about it as one person making more and one making less. They just view it purely as a team. We're putting everything towards our mortgage or everything towards childcare. It doesn't matter as much. One couple I interviewed, and I thought this was such an interesting idea, was they combine everything in a joint account, which they started early into their marriage. And now what they do is they budget out something called fun money, and they take out an even amount per person. So it doesn't really matter if one person makes more or less. They have, I think it was like 10% of their income to spend individually however they choose. But it comes from the joint account that they both contribute to. So all to say, there's no right or wrong way to do it. It kind of depends on your comfort level. And again, having those communication and those conversations as a couple.
We just have a few seconds left here, Julia. Any advice when it comes to dealing with a money-related argument?
Yeah, I keep mentioning communication. I think consistent communication is key. One couple that I spoke to brought up a really great point that it's really hard to have big surprises, right? Like you discover your partner has a secret day trading habit. If you're talking regularly and, weekly, bi-weekly, a lot of couples have even calendar invites, in their phones to kind of sit down and talk about these topics. I think that consistency makes it less daunting, first of all, but also just you feel more secure.
Julia,
so I highly recommend that.
Thank you so much. It sounds like a fascinating article. You can find more information on Julia, couples and finances. Just head on over to businessinsider.com. In this week's Boss Lady, we meet an immigrant from Colombia who turned her U.S. citizenship into a multi-million-dollar success story.
I had 2 horses, thoroughbreds, and I volunteered at a horse racing seminar in how to take care of these animals. The organizers of the event said, Claudia, our interpreter is missing. He didn't show up today, and we were told that you are very smart and you can take care of this training. And I said, well, let's see what we can do. A Corby is a group of 6 companies operating in language, technology, and healthcare. Basically, you have 911 and you have an emergency and I have a Vietnamese speaking person here. Transfer me to somebody that can help me have this conversation. We are able to take care of those conversations. My father wanted me to ride, so as a child, he introduced me to horses. I enjoy the freedom and energy and how wonderful it feels to ride a horse. There is a lot of hardship for children of immigrants. I remember trying to figure out how I was going to meet my father again. Maybe the best way that I can go is by crossing the border. So my father contacted me. He had filed for my green card and said, I would like for you to come to the United States. And I said, well, I need to finish school. But I would like for you to take my mother. So my mother joined my father. The reunion, it was after 18 years of being apart. It was just very emotional. We cried and cried and cried, and it was just a very happy moment.
Today, we'll be talking about prepositions. Hello, class.
It was pretty much figuring out where we could improve or where we could save money. That was a fun job. Genuity went bankrupt. In 2002, I told Azam, I don't like the concept of being helpless. I felt that I needed to have more control over my life. I had experience in my agricultural management from Colombia, so I knew a lot of technical terminology, I knew the industry, and I started correcting a lot of mistakes in Spanish for this training, and they referred me to my first paying customer. From the beginning, I realized that in order to grow the business, I needed to sell. It's sale, 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 sale.
Yeah. Yeah.
How are you? Good. Oh, thank you. We place translators and interpreters at corporations. We also place project managers to manage translation projects at a very large scale. So on the telecommunication that happens, the phone routing, finding the right interpreter, and being able to have that connection in any language in seconds. You don't know whom you are talking to. Always be kind to everybody, and we are always gonna treat people with respect.
Sure, because it's not supposed to be a burden, like HubSpot was, right? It's supposed to be something that's helping you be more efficient and effective.
Exactly. I mean,
You are looking for people that have had formal education in that language. You have to provide them training in some area of specialization. I love doing this. It's amazing for us. The first quarter is pretty much over. Now we are going to the second quarter. I will continue running a Corby, but I'm ready for my next career move. I left Colombia very poor and being no one. I feel that I would like to go back to Colombia and give back to the people in my same situation. I would like to help people, women, little girls that have a dream to succeed.
This is Daily Flash with your hosts, Andrea Jackson and Mitch English. Trending news and entertainment. This is Daily Flash.
Hi, everybody. I am Mitch English.
I'm Andrea Jackson. This is Daily Flash.
We are so happy to have you here. We got, of course, today's trends and tomorrow's talks. Vince Gilligan, of course, creator of Breaking Bad.
Yes.
Great.
Sorry, I just realized I spit when I said yes.
Greatest TV show ever. Excited.
Sorry.
One of the best. Well,
One of the best.
He is also, he met Bryan Cranston when he was directing an episode of X-Files. That's where he met, and so they kind of worked together. Well, Vince Gilligan, obviously a great writer.
Yeah.
He knows how to put a show together. He recently talked to the Writers Guild of America.
Okay.
And what he said kind of surprised a lot of people. He said, we need to get away from Walter White's as the main character. And he's telling that, he's like, we're getting into the place where, and Braden and I were talking about this earlier, is about how the anti-hero is everywhere now. If you think about it, like the Joker, Batman, it's like
Penguin,
the hero. The
yeah.
Penguin is another one. And he said we need to get back to people like, he used George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life and Andy Griffith.
Yeah.
He says there's none of that out there
There
right
isn't.
now. So if you want something new, this is the route that you need to do. He acknowledged that there's a lot of appeal with people that you don't want to like, but we like them, like Walter White.
Yes.
You know, he does some really bad things.
He would have had a good life without Skylar. Honestly.
Man, I'm totally going to agree with that. Don't get me going with all that. Was that whole dichotomy of that relationship?
Yes.
But she was there so the show could happen.
Yeah, she had to be there.
Yeah.
And you know, and it's cyclical. Is that everybody liked Walter White? So then we saw the Batman movies, and I think I'm using Penguin because it was amazing.
It was amazing.
But I should not like the Penguin, and I thought it was such an awesome character that I shouldn't like, but I liked it.
But see, I find it interesting that he's saying that because even with the villains in shows, you have to show some sort of a softer side,
human.
so that you're more wrapped into the whole storyline. Otherwise, if you make them a complete a-hole, then you don't care whether they get killed or not. So you have to have some kind of empathy and some kind of investment, even in the bad guys.
And
Movies. But I do agree that we do need a little bit more Andy Griffith and a lot less Joker.
Yeah, I think that's why Ted
Lasso.
I was going to call him Russo because I knew a Ted Russo. But Ted Lasso did so well.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yes,
people,
you're right.
and it was refreshing to watch the show with a
That's
Ted
a
Lasso.
great point.
I think we probably need more of those Ted Lassos. It's interesting to see. I think we also want to go, why is this person the way he is? Because we're interested in him, and that's where we get out of the anti-heroes. It's like, why did they do bad?
And I think that's what they did remarkably well in The Penguin. They tried to show you how he became the Penguin, so that you have a little bit more empathy for him. But I do think
we shouldn't. He's a bad guy.
Exactly. But I do think the superhero movies are to blame for a lot of that.
And maybe with with this latest one with the Captain
Dying
America,
down,
it could be
well,
people a little bit of fatigue.
hope so.
Start hating the superhero.
When you hate the good guys.
That is true.
I'm a villain all the way.
Good point. All right, naming the world's best cuisine is sure to ruffle up some feathers. Travel guide Taste Atlas has actually put together a list after analyzing ratings from its users.
Okay.
Greece, Mediterranean food, took the top honors with a score of 4.6 out of 5 stars. A number of mouthwatering Greek dishes featured heavily in the high scoring for Greek cuisine. Rounding out the top 10, of course, number 1 is Greek. We'll start from 5, which is Portuguese, Spanish, Mexican, Italian, and then Greek. 6 through 10 goes from Turkish, Indonesian, French, Japanese, and coming in at number 10 is just Chinese food. And it comes back again for 12 because you get hungry. Number 12 as well.
You order the number 12 and
Yeah,
you're
the number
hungry?
12 and you get it back as well. So those cuisines, I think Greek and I'm an Italian fan. Oh my God.
Top 3, 100%.
Greece was the best food I've ever had in my entire life.
That's why you like
I
honeymoon,
love-
right?
The food over there was phenomenal, and you didn't walk out of there feeling heavy or greasy or dirt. Like
Right.
we had a lady on the cruise with us who had like a joint disorder or whatever. She goes, "Oh, by the end of this, I'm not going to be able to walk." She was still dancing her butt off at the end because of the way the food was
What does
made.
that
they
say
also like
about
liquor.
the preservatives
Yeah.
and the
Oh,
seed
100%.
oils and everything that are in our
100%.
foods
Yeah.
that are not over in Europe? Yeah.
Well, it's Greek to me, right?
It
that's
is.
That's where it came from because I'm eating me Italian.
Have you been there? Used to be a restaurant, and I don't know if it's still here, but it's called the I think it's called the deli or the cafe, and you walk in and it's Greek food, and he goes, "Hello, friend,
okay.
welcome, friend."
I love that. Yeah, which is part of Italian
Yeah.
as well as Greek. Obviously, is that it's a family thing, and you're going to feel it.
Yeah.
You can understand that, and you're going to enjoy it.
Sure.
Right? All right, we have got some more. We have more rather coming up a little bit later on. We're going to be talking to Maggie Moon about a mind diet, which is interesting. So find out about that.
We have a theme going on with the
I think
show.
so. Let's go get some Greek food. I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
We'll be back with more after this.
February is American Heart Month, but a healthy heart isn't just about your ticker. It's crucial for your healthy mind too. Joining us now with more on the connection between our diet and cognitive health is brain health nutrition expert Maggie Moin. Welcome, Maggie, to Daily Flash.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
Great. So first, tell us how heart health is connected to brain health. They seem like two separate things.
Right, and we often even talk about them as opposite, the head and the heart, but actually they're very connected. So when we realize that the brain it's only 2% of our body weight, but it takes 20% of our calorie and our oxygen. What's the delivery system? That's the cardiovascular system. And that's why heart health is essential to brain health.
That's really, really important and fascinating. Well, and everyone is worried about aging. Can you tell us what we can eat now, how it impacts our brain and our brain health later on in life?
100%. And first, I just want to flip the script on aging a little bit because aging is such a privilege and it comes with wisdom, it comes with joy. But the trick is we want to add life to those years, right? And a healthy diet for heart health and brain health is a big part of that. And so what we want to think about is adding to our cognitive reserve. And we do that our whole life long. So every healthy meal that we do, that we eat, and every healthy thing we do for our bodies, that's like adding a little deposit into our retirement account so we can pull on that later in life when we need it, when we need some of that cognitive resilience.
I love that term, cognitive resilience. Well, tell us about brain foods. What are they and how can we really add them to our diet now to really support our brain health?
So, brain food is a science-backed, the science is really telling us which way to go in terms of foods and nutrients for brain health. And so, these are things that are going to be combating oxidative stress, reducing our inflammatory load. And just to give you a few examples, so foods like blueberries that are so high in antioxidants, especially wild blueberries, which have twice the antioxidants as regular blueberries, that's going to help tamp down on that inflammation. Also foods, like leafy green vegetables, we see in the research over and over again, it's leafy green vegetables are things that are high in vitamin B, that are the B vitamins, that are so good for the brain that we should be eating every single day. And then my last example is striped bass, and I specifically call that out because it's a super green food, which means it's sustainable seafood, and it's got those omega-3s that are literally part of brain cell structure that help us function optimally.
Well, those all sound delicious and great for our brain health. Now tell us more about the Mind Diet. What is it exactly?
Sure. So the Mind Diet is a evidence-based approach to healthy eating for brain health and to prevent cognitive decline. And what the research says is that following the Mind Diet may reduce the risk of Alzheimer's by more than half. And it could help us slow down our brain aging by 7.5 years, which is really, really impressive results. And it's not that hard to follow it. You've got lots of healthy eating groups in the Mind Diet that can really be adapted to different cultural and personal food preferences.
I love learning about that. And tell us some simple swaps to eat now for healthier hearts and brains today.
Yes, so I've got so many tips, recipes, and helpful things like healthy swaps in my new book, The Mind Diet Second Edition, and a couple of them that I practice myself I wanted to share with you. One is I might snack on hummus and veggies instead of chips and dips, for example, so that I've got more of that heart healthy fiber that's going to keep my brain healthy because I'm keeping my heart healthy. Or I might have something like an iced green tea instead of a soda when I want a little pick me up and a cool beverage. Not only am I cutting down on those inflammatory added sugars, but I'm also getting those polyphenols from the green tea that's good for gut, heart, and brain.
For more information, you can follow Maggie Moin on social at Mind Diet Meals and minddietmeals.com. Thank you so much, Maggie, for being with us today.
Welcome back to Daily Flash. In an uncertain economy with high inflation, people look for relief in many different ways, some good, some not so good. And staying one step ahead of scammers requires its own special skill set. Joining us with advice on how to protect yourself from the art of the scam is Amanda Webster. She is the COO of Fund and Grow. Hey, Amanda, welcome back.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
What are some of the common credit card scams that are trending right now?
You're going to see a lot of offers that look like big banks, but they're not big banks, or they're trying to facade as smaller banks. Mostly it's just in order to get your credit. So it becomes a fraudulent activity on your credit report. So it really just is dependent on you not entering information and doing some research, but it's all over the place. You can ghost as Chase Bank. There's a lot of things going on out there that, especially with the CFPB being frozen right now, that consumers just don't have any protection.
When it comes to credit repair, we see a lot of those advertisements online and everywhere. What are they promising people?
The number one thing they're promising that's not legitimate is that they're going to increase your credit score. Credit repair does not actually innately increase your credit score. It actually makes your reports accurate and removing anything that shouldn't be there. So it doesn't always guarantee that you're going to have an increase in your credit score, yet that is what they promise online, and it is not factual.
What about other scams? And what if you happen to be caught up in a scam? What should you do?
First and foremost, you should always research. Look at the links, even not the link that they said they were sending you to. Look at that hard link in your browser to see where it sent you. It's very clear to see when something is not a legitimate link or not the actual lender it's saying. And then monitoring your credit report is key to anything.
Yes.
Having updated reports. And then also, if you find that you get yourself put into a pinch, freeze your reports. It is 100% free to reach out to each bureau online and get your reports frozen to eliminate any further activity.
Yeah, that is great advice. I subscribe to one of those credit reporting agencies, and it's wonderful to have. When it comes to those loan offers, it seems like they send those things out like no tomorrow. Why is this one of the more costly traps for consumers?
Well, what happens is you fall into trusting them that they're going to give you a line of credit, they're going to give you some type of funding, and that's what you need, right? That's what you're out trying to get. However, what they actually do is they get all of your information. Sometimes they'll even facade and show like they're giving you some money, and you get caught into where they drain your bank account, where they destroy your credit. It is absolutely rampant right now. And the ones that come in the mail does not mean they're legitimate. The mail pieces I would actually worry about the most.
Yeah, and if somebody is searching for a line of credit when it comes to instant credit card approval, what do they need to know?
I would highly suggest going directly to the lender's site. Going to Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, your local credit union, wherever you want to bank with that you already know is a legitimate bank, only go to their direct website. Again, looking at those hard links. I would not trust any redirects or any of those, companies that are, sending the traffic over to that bank, because a lot of times it's scraping your information.
Amanda, great advice there, great information. And for more information on how to protect your credit and avoid scammers and also expand your small business, go to fundandgrow.com. Amanda, thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Amanda. All right, listen, we're all looking for ways to start filing taxes and getting our refunds fast, right? Well, we got some great advice to help you get started.
With tax time upon us, a new survey reveals that too many tax myths are making it seem more daunting to file than it needs to be.
TurboTax did a survey conducted by Talker Research where we surveyed 4,000 Americans. And in this survey, we found that all across generations, there are a lot of misconceptions about filing taxes. 20% of Gen Z believe that students don't need to file taxes, and 13% also believed that if you're paid in cash, you don't need to file taxes. And then we saw even more misconceptions with boomers, with 37% thinking you don't need to file taxes and you won't get a tax refund if you make under the IRS income threshold.
The truth, Green Lewis says, people earning under the IRS threshold and students are not required to file, but should file if they had federal taxes taken out or are eligible for certain refund credits since they may have a refund coming. What else the survey found?
47% of Americans polled hit the mark in knowing what the Earned Income Tax Credit is. It is a credit that you're given for earning income. So whether it's income from a W-2 job or being self-employed, it's also what's known as a refundable tax credit. And so what that means is people still get it even if they don't owe any taxes.
Working tax filers that fit the income requirements should make sure they claim this valuable credit worth up to $7,830 for a family with 3 kids. And in this day and age, with all the implications for filing, you should enlist help from the experts.
We saw from our survey that 77% of Americans want their refund earlier. TurboTax is giving customers their biggest refund possible. Whether you want to do your taxes yourself or have an expert do it for you, we are providing done-for-you tax experiences with unparalleled ease. And if you did not use TurboTax last tax season and you do your taxes yourself on our TurboTax mobile app, You can do your federal and state taxes for absolutely free, regardless of your tax complexity. And then we still have our TurboTax Free Edition, and that is for simple 1040 returns. And you can have earned income tax credit, child tax credit, student loans, just no additional schedules. And about 37% of tax filers qualify for that.
To get started, go to turbotax.com.
If you're in the market for your next high seas adventure, here's one cruise line offering a great experience.
Wave season is here, and Regent Seven Seas Cruises, the world's leading ultra-luxury cruise line, launched their Upgrade Your Horizon offer.
We're inviting guests to indulge in the most inclusive luxury experience. This offer gives guests the chance to enjoy generous suite upgrades, flexible reduced deposits, and up to 20% savings on select voyages through incredible destinations around the world.
Visit rssc.com to take advantage of the Upgrade Your Horizons offer.
KSA Entertainment is dedicated to uplifting the communities we serve. Through KSA Cares, we're bringing awareness to the causes that matter most, supporting those who work tirelessly to make a difference. From honoring veterans to championing environmental responsibility, KSA Cares is committed to inspiring positive change. At KSA Entertainment, we're here for the stories that bring us closer. Innovate with us. We can make a difference.
Hey, welcome back to Daily Flash. A team of skilled operatives are on a mission to secure genetic material from dinosaurs whose DNA can provide life-saving benefits. This is today's must-watch movie, Jurassic World Rebirth.
This would be a medical breakthrough that could save countless lives. It comes from the largest dinosaurs on the planet. Oh my God. Fortunately for us, all these species exist in one isolated place. Can you be ready tomorrow?
I can guarantee your safety. I mean, more or less.
More or less? He's your guy?
We're the best at moving things and people in and out of places they shouldn't be.
Move up towards Barbados, avoid government patrol, but there aren't that many anymore.
Why's that?
No one's dumb enough to go where we're going.
This island was the research facility for the original Jurassic Park.
We need DNA from the 3 biggest dinosaurs.
Do we have to get a sample from an egg?
I suppose we could try and get it from the parent, but they're a flying carnivore the size of an F-16.
Maybe we should make it quick.
These dinosaurs were too dangerous for the original park.
Please don't say they're raptors. They're raptors.
The worst of the worst were left here.
Come on! Duncan!
We put ourselves in a place we don't belong. Survival is a long shot.
What the hell are those?
They're helping the mosasaur defend territory, stalk, hunt.
None of what you just said is good.
Mitch.
Yep.
Hey.
No, I've already seen this 6 other times, this movie. So that does it for our show with my smart Alex.
Be good.
Bye, y'all.